President Obama's strategy for defeating ISIS includes arming the so-called moderate Syrian rebels. The problem is, no one's sure which, if any, rebels to trust with U.S. arms and training. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell reports now from Jerusalem.
Can the U.S. safely take a side in the Syrian civil war?
We're going to pick a side, or try to pick a side, and the same as we did when we went into Iraq, same as we've done in Afghanistan, and that hasn't worked well for us.
The danger many see with the U.S. policy to arm and train the Syrian rebels is that those weapons may eventually end up in the hands of ISIS, other jihadist groups, or even the Assad regime.
So who are the partners which the United States and the West are going to use to go in on the ground to destroy the Islamic State? If it's the Syrian rebels, as we're now seeing it may well be, we should understand many of those same Syrian rebels are themselves Sunni jihadis, are themselves Sunni Islamists. So if we're looking at a situation in which we're going to partner with one group of Sunni Islamists to destroy another just because the other is kind of a little bit worse, and they certainly are dreadful, I'm not quite sure what good can come of that.
Jonathan Spire is a Middle East analyst who has traveled inside Syria and studied the various Syrian rebel groups. He knows the question facing the U.S. and the West is, can they support the so-called moderate Syrian opposition?
This is perhaps the crucial matter. There are moderate and secular, democratic even maybe, forces among the Syrian armed opposition, but they are small and they are not particularly powerful, and this is perhaps the crucial point. They are engaged in a modus operandi in which they cooperate with the Islamists and the jihadis. They regard them as common fighters.
Spire says if you arm the so-called moderates, there's no firewall between them and the Islamists.
I think it cannot be stated enough times, and it cannot be stated, clearly enough, that you cannot subdivide the Syrian insurgency into moderates and Sunni Islamists. They are mixed up together, and you cannot take the Sunni Islamists out of the game, which means that if you want to make war against the Islamic State, making use of Syrian rebel fighters as your infantry, you will be pitting Sunni Islamists on your side against the Sunni Islamists on the other side.
In the murky world of the Syrian civil war, Senator Manchin may be right. Picking sides in the Middle East is a very risky game. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.